Alright everyone, welcome back to week 5 of the Advanced Pokemon Enterprise. My name is Demon Battler, coach of the Miami Overheat, and we are currently sitting at a nice 2-2 with a differential of 6. Currently we are ranked number 3 in the division, and hopefully we can keep ourselves in that high ranking. So this week we're facing off against StackOfBooks, who is coach of the Heavy Booty Doots, a relative newcomer, and a replacement for the True Fresh Avocado team that had dropped a while back. So looking at his team, it's actually a pretty solid team with a number of really big threats here. Specifically, we see Mega Beedrill, we see Tornadus Therian, we see Hydreigon, we see Melmetal, we see Seismitoad, which can be pretty bulky. Necrozma can hit pretty hard. Overall, this team actually looks really solid, and we're gonna have to focus on this well. So with that in mind, these are the team members that I'm expecting to see outright. The rest of them, of course, again, we're going to have to plan extra thoughts for. But with that being said, this is our team that we're bringing. Yes, Zeno is carrying the Choice Scarf once again. I honestly feel like at this point he is becoming a one-trick pony. But honestly, he does his job well. And with his high speed stat, it means that it's a lot easier for us to make use of him as a mixed attacker, because as it turns out, looking at Books' team, the only thing that doesn't have a chance at a Scarf is Mega Beedrill, and even then, we outspeed Beedrill naturally with the Scarf, and with 80 speed EVs and a naive nature, we actually managed to outspeed Tornadus Therian and Hydreigon, both if they have a Scarf. So, really, this is all we need in order to outspeed in general, so that's kind of helpful. So we have Volt Switch, Knockoff, Close Combat, and Play Rough specifically for Hydreigon. As you may see, we don't have Ecclesia here, and the reason is because, as much as Ecclesia would be very strong against this team, I'm expecting him to almost over-predict for that and plan heavily against her. So by having her not here, that kind of throws a wrench into his plans as well. And the rest of our team looks pretty solid in general. Truffles actually can live a hit from Tornadus or Hydreigon in general, and counteract with a Bullet Seed to deal with something like Seismitoad. Triple Axle could deal with Hydreigon itself, or Tornadus. Knockoff is pretty good for a general attack, and then U-Turn gives Truffles a decent bit of pivoting, and carrying the Expert Belt means that those attacks will actually do a little bit more if they're super effective. Roshi's back again with a typical moveset, Fake Out, Bullet Punch, but Force Palm is there to help with the fighting type weaknesses without risking too much in terms of accuracy. And Energy Ball is actually there because that can deal a significant amount of damage to Seismitoad, so long as it isn't specially defensive. And if it is specially defensive, well, then Force Palm can deal a lot of damage in general then. Artorigus is here with King Shield, Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon, and Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword is there mostly to deal with possible Audino, and the rest of its moveset is there to kind of counteract most of Books' team having a lower special defensive side, as well as the fact that Artorigus can survive a hit from Hydreigon, get the weakness policy it's holding off, and basically proceed to annihilate it in return. Charlotte is here. Charlotte is here mostly for two reasons. Energy Ball is, again, to help deal with Seismitoad, and Sticky Web is there to help with a little bit of speed tier shenanigans as well. And then if worse comes to worse, we can outspeed and go for Thunder. He doesn't really have very much on his team that has priority, so this kind of works out nicely in our favor. And then finally, Clifford is here again, this time rocking the Assault Vest with Intimidate. And he's Jolly Nature, and his main focus is going to be deal damage while he can. So we have Extreme Speed in case we really need the priority. Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Crunch are there for coverage, essentially. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, here we are into the battle, and surprisingly enough, no Hydreigon and no Seismitoad. I am actually very happy to see that. Hydreigon I'm happy to see because that is a big hitter that we don't have to deal with. And I'm also happy to see no Seismitoad because that means that we can actually freely start out going into Volt Switch as much as we want. However, looking at his team, I do expect possibly a bit of, I guess, possible defog. But at the same time, I'm kind of tempted to just start off with Charlene and see what happens. So, yeah, let's go with that. I mean, I don't see why not. So let's go into that. Let's start. This is going to be interesting to see. And he starts off with Beedrill. Interesting. So, this thing is definitely going to Mega Evolve, and I don't believe it has access to anything special in terms of, like, well, we have Focus Sash, so it actually doesn't matter in general. So, I guess the question is, do we want to get the Volt Switch? Do we just want a Volt Switch, or do we want a Sticky Web? Because Sticky Web will do a lot to a lot of his team. Especially because Diancie doesn't have access to Magic Guard, so... or Magic Bounce, rather. The problem is, Beedrill will outspeed and kill us afterwards. That being said, the only thing that outspeeds Galvantula otherwise is Tornadus, or possibly if Rotom is Scarfed. Fuck it, we're gonna Volt Switch. So he's gonna U-turn, and that actually does a lot to us, which is okay. Because we're gonna get a Volt Switch back, so that means we're actually going to get ourselves a fair amount of momentum from this. Especially because whatever he switches into is going to take a Volt Switch to the face. There's Rotom. So not going to take much from the Volt Switch. However, we do get to switch now. So the question is, what is Rotom going to do to us? Honestly, I'm kind of okay just switching into Xeno. And really, I'm honestly tempted to just say screw it and go for a knockoff. Because Beedrill will take a lot of damage regardless, and this will definitely kill Rotom, so there's no point in just Volt Switching right now. We're going to go for knockoff. Ooh, a Colbur Berry. That's interesting. So that means that Rotom is not Scarfed, which is good news now. Unfortunately, Xeno is kind of in trouble now, which is a problem. Even more so, I'm expecting him to switch into... I'm expecting him to Volt Switch. But, at the same time, we could still deal a decent amount of damage here, so we're going to knock off again. Okay, and that takes out the Rotom. So, unfortunately, Xeno is going to be in a very tough spot here because of that burn. Especially because we don't actually have a Cleric to work with, but that's not that bad. We do have other options for the rest of his team, and thankfully for us, Volt Switch does not matter about the burn. Which means that Tornadus is still going to have a tough time with us. So now we just have to wait and see what he decides to come up with. Okay, and there's Necrozma. Unfortunately, knockoff is not going to do a lot here, so honestly, I'm half tempted to... I'm actually kind of considering switching into Clifford, because, let's see. I don't actually know. What is Prism Armor? I don't remember what that is. Okay, so it's basically solid rock, just without the ability to get impacted by Mold Breaker. Okay, good to know. So Xeno is definitely still useful to us. Charlotte might not be as useful, but I feel like Clifford is probably our best bet, because we can still crunch him. We get Assault Vest, and we have Intimidate in case it's going to be offensive. So let's go with that. Automatize. Interesting. So it's going to be fast. It's going to be actually quite quick, which is impressive. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference, so we're just going to crunch. Meteor Beam. Oh! I forgot Meteor Beam is a rock-type move. That's actually bad. Power Herb, too. That's actually really interesting. Okay. Now we're actually in a slight bit of trouble, because that extra special attack boost is big. And the fact that its speed is doubled also is kind of rough. Let's see, it's up to 282. So 564? Ooh, that actually equals to Xeno, so that's kind of scary. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna switch into Artorigus, and I'm actually not sure right here. I kind of think we might have to switch. We might have to go into Shadow Ball. I don't think Artorigus is gonna die to a hit, but let's find out. Heat Wave, crit. Oh, that's just rough. That's fucking rough. Actually, I need to find out. I need to know. Did that crit actually matter? Let's see. So 248. 100. 60. 100. Is that nature? At a +1 special attack. The crit absolutely mattered. Fuck. That's actually really bad for us. So, yeah, this is actually really troubling for us because he speed ties with Zeraora. Charlotte absolutely does nothing here. Truffles is probably not going to live a hit. And Roshi, unfortunately, does not have a way to take this thing down. So, I'm really not sure what we can do here. Our only hope is to try to whittle this thing down somewhat. So, we're going to go in, we're going to Volt Switch. Okay, so we deal 30, and I think it's just time to let Charlotte go. I don't like it, but... Photon Geyser... gone. God, I really don't like the fact that we have to do this, but we have to whittle this thing down the best we can. And... So it's Photon Geyser, Heat Wave, Meteor Beam. Unfortunately, yeah, we're kind of screwed here. Truffles is going to have to take a hit and probably going to die. And Autotomize means that we actually are outright screwed now, which is bad. Okay, so... Knockoff does not... Let's see. Yeah, base U-turn's stronger. And Photon Geyser's there, which is going to kill us. Yeah, that's absolutely rough. Well, that actually really sucks, not gonna lie. We're gonna evolve Fake Out. And we're gonna Bullet Punch. So, that's Cold Comfort, honestly. It's Cold Comfort because we're not gonna survive this. There's no way in hell. But we at least managed to get it down to a 4-0, so that's something I can take that happily. But damn. But you know what? I have to give them credit. That was actually a really good tactic, and it worked out very nicely for them. So, you know what? I can't be mad. That worked out incredibly well for them in general, and Necrozma, man, that thing's fucking terrifying. Especially because the crazy thing is, I expected Necrozma to be a physical attacker in general, so that's even more insane. We're gonna Bullet Punch, do what we can, take a hit, and then Hurricane's gonna take us out. With a super effective critical at that, so... Alright, that sucks, but nothing we could do about that. We'll go into post-game very shortly. Okay, well, unfortunately, this week did not pan out as I had expected, which is really disappointing. However, we can just brush off this loss, and we move on. Because it's still only mid-season, we're not too far off. And honestly, given that I, once again, did not expect Necrozma to be such a pain in the ass, again, underestimating a potential throwaway mon ended up biting me, so, oh well. Moving on to the MVP. Honestly, looking at our stats here, there's really only two choices, and frankly, I think Roshi is the one that takes that top. Because, basically, if it weren't for Roshi, Necrozma was absolutely going to 5-0 sweep our asses. Xeno did good taking out the Rotom. Unfortunately, that was pretty much all he was capable of doing here. So, Roshi gets the spot. Moving on to next week. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. We are going to be facing off against the East England Empoleons. And they are currently #1 in the division. They are currently 4-1 with a +10 differential. Holy hell. And quite frankly, I am definitely a bit nervous because their team actually looks pretty good. And I don't mean pretty good in that they have a few good mons here and there. I mean their whole team looks pretty damn impressive. But we're going to face off against Mark and the Empoleons next week. We will see what happens. Catch you guys next time.